ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Queen.
The thing about Queen is that they're really normal. Do you know what I mean? Like, this thing about they don't have very many airs and graces, you know. They're very approachable people. They're very friendly. They're the most unlikely band I've ever seen. You sort of have this hippie guitar player who wears white clogs and long hair. You've got this very trendy drummer, you know, hey, the good-looking drummer. You've got this outrageous lead singer with this amazing voice. Yeah, and you've got the classic bass player who's sort of, you know, quiet and very into music and sort of thing like that. They're very unlikely to be one of the biggest bands on the planet.
Flash.
Bottoms.
Nuts.
Graduates. Futuristic. Piss artists.
One word.
Dreadful.
Super.
Yes, yeah. We will, we will.
Very talented, very good. Wonderful. Yeah.
We will rock you, rock you, rock you, rock. We will rock you.
Queen. Four friends who have stayed together for the best part of 2 decades to become one of the 80s most successful rock bands. Four hard-rocking Englishmen who play to the biggest audiences in the world all around the world. Experimental musicians, pioneers of the pop video and untouchable live showmen. Who are these phenomenal four?
John Deacon was the first person in the group that made contact with me, in fact. He phoned up one day and just said, I hear you're a big fan of Queen. If you ever want to come to a concert sometime, I'd like you to come. And I assumed he was a keen enthusiast of racing or at least driving. So I said to him, what kind of car do you drive? Think he would have a Ferrari or a Porsche or something. He says, I own a Volvo. And I thought, my God, anybody who owns a Volvo and is in rock music, there's something wrong.
Yeah. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone, and another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Hey.
When I was a tape op, all I'd do was really just make tea and look after them and make sure the engineer and the producer were okay. Then I'd walk in and say, now, who'd like a cup of tea and who'd like a cup of coffee? And I'd go around all the band, and I'd get to Brian, and he'd say, now, how many teas are you making? I'd say, well, 3 teas. How many coffees are you making? 3 coffees, Brian. Oh, so you're making the same amount, so would it matter if I had a coffee? No, I'll have a tea. Now, which is the easiest to make for you? And so it would take me half an hour for Brian to decide whether to have a cup of coffee or have a cup of tea. So when it came down to doing guitars, then you can imagine how long it used to take.
Well, I see the hair's going. I'm very pleased with that. I was seeing the other night, she's had the old clone look for a long time now, and we thought yesterday it would be nice to have the old hair back again, but somebody pointed out that she may not be able to grow it. But that's all I'm going to be bitchy. He's wonderful. I love Freddie to death, okay?
We are the champions, my friends, and we'll keep on fighting till the end.
The best way to describe Roger, I think, is that if you take off his glasses, he's yours.
He was always beating the living daylights out of a drum. He had this great fetish desire to be a pop star. I believe he made it as well, for that matter.
Well, I loved a million women in a Belladonna case, and I had a million dinners brought to me on silver tray. But if I crossed a million rivers and I rode a million miles, then I'd still be where I started, same as when I started.
It seemed as though every week there was a new group on Top of the Pops that looked great and sounded great. And, you know, you had one week Steve Harley, and then Bowie, and then Queen, Sparks. No, so it wasn't stupid to me because it was part of, you know, the Xandra Rhodes clothes and stuff were part of what was going on. I mean, somebody around the corner was doing something equally as silly or outrageous.
They signed to EMI a few months around the same time as I did in '73. A few months either way, I don't know who was first. And one of us has been immensely successful.
They were a support act on a tour with a band called Motley Hoople. And I remember thinking, what a bunch of tossers, they'll never make it. But I was wrong.
Queen? Well, yes, although actually, of course, in the last sort of 10 years or so, I mean, it hasn't meant so much. But I remember when they first appeared on the scene, there were all kinds of suggestions that they were all sort of homosexual or something, which, of course, they're not.
Freddie always had a good voice. That's always been the anchor of that group, I think. And Brian's a good guitar player as well. You know, they've had musical skill. I think you can tell, you know, when a band's got musical skill.
In late '74, Killer Queen stormed up the charts to #2, giving the band their first major hit.
She's a killer queen, gunpowder agility, dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind. Recommended at the price, insatiable and appetite.
Appropriately enough, in the year of lightweight Bay City roller pop, it was held off the #1 spot by David Essex.
I first saw him on Top of the Pops with whatever it was, Killer Queen, and I thought they were brilliant. And I thought, hello, mate. Little fella, over here. On telly. All right, I thought, yeah, they had potential. The ugly one, what's his name? Who sings?
Keep yourself alive. Yeah. Keep yourself alive. We'll take you all your time and the money to make you survive.
I think we had very little idea of what was going to happen. We had a few dreams and a few ambitions, and the biggest thing was to actually make an album and have an album on the piece of plastic and have it there so that people could buy it, and perhaps our children could still buy it, and their grandchildren. And the second thing was to play some of the concert situations that we knew, like we knew the Rainbow. And when we had achieved those aims, I think everything was new from that point on. I can't remember really realising where we were going, except that we were kind of going up. And it seemed like the world was endlessly new, you know. It seemed like we can always get bigger and better and more exciting.
For Queen, the final breakthrough into the big league was yet to come. It would take a very extraordinary song to achieve it. Remember?
Mama. I can't remember the song. Just killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead.
Well, I remember the first time I heard Bohemian Rhapsody. I thought it was the most amazing dynamics I'd ever heard recorded on a record, you know. They actually used the fact that they could have silence or they could have total over-the-top power all within the space of, 5 or 6 minutes or whatever. And a lot of groups made records that went along like this. Suddenly there was this thing like this, you know? And I used to listen to that over and over again and thought, God, how did they do that?
We phoned up the record company and said to the record company, well, we've got the single, it's ready to be heard. And they said, oh, great, what's it called? It's called Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, that sounds nice. They hadn't heard anything at that time. And we said, OK, the only problem is it's about 7.5 minutes long. They said, oh, forget it. You can't have a song. We said, but you haven't heard it yet. It doesn't matter. We'd never get any airplay. Radio will refuse to play it because it's too long.
Nothing really matters. Anyone can see.
Length didn't matter either. The initially unloved Bohemian Rhapsody became Queen's first #1 on the national charts, where it reigned for 9 consecutive weeks.
The record that shares the award for the best British single from 1952 to 1977 is Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Ladies and gentlemen, Queen. There we are. Congratulations. Beautiful number.
Whilst Bohemian Rhapsody propelled Queen's career into orbit, it also marked the beginning of a new genre that was soon to dominate pop.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see. I'm just a poor boy, I need no sympathy, because I'm easy come, easy go, little high, little low. Any way the wind blows doesn't really matter to me.
Here it comes. Yes. Stand by. It's a white shot all through. 4 to vocal. 3, 2, 1 vocal.
No, he's late on that.
Yes, he's
late on that.
It's difficult because you can't count.
A lot of effort went into the development of Queen as video artists. And as we can see from these rare outtakes of We Will Rock You and Spread Your Wings promos, the road to video success was long and hard, with the band freezing in Roger's garden whilst the director chastises Freddie.
Could you ask Freddie to make sure that he thinks about his sync, because he goes well off?
Oh, yes! I love it, I love it. There you are.
Well,
See, that's a bit more interesting.
yeah.
And for the directors, even the band's names were a problem.
If you could ask that, the guitar player, what's his name, Brian? Does anybody know his name, the guitar player? Oh, him?
Yeah, that was done in a day and cost about 5,000 quid.
And looking back, I just think it couldn't be done now. You couldn't do that.
Right, front and right. Look with the heads. Right, hold. Right and front. Right and front. Right and front. Keeping straight lines, you said. Come on, sharpen up.
The productions for videos became gigantic. More outrageous ideas required ever more elaborate staging. And soon, certain productions came to resemble large-scale epics like Fritz Lang's Metropolis.
All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Cuckoo, Radio Gaga. All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Gaga. Radio what's new? Radio, someone still loves you.
But yeah, I think our music is quite visual. It does lend itself to visual things. It's sort of quite big. It's sort of widescreen, cinemascope.
We've got to be the rulers of your world.
You know, when they asked me, I was amazed. But why not? And I was very happy to do it because I never did a video clip, and it's very funny.
And he really enjoyed it because he's a frustrated rock and roller at heart anyway, I think.
Most rock and roll musicians would like to be comedians. And of course, most comedians want to be rock and roll musicians. I think perhaps we should come to some arrangement whereby we all sort of swap over.
I want to break free.
I was dying to dress up in drag, doesn't everybody? But it was just one of those things. In fact, it wasn't my idea at all. I'm sure everybody thinks it's my idea being outrageous.
Rogers, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, it came from Roger, and I was. And everybody thinks, I bet. In fact, they asked me, so how did you get the other three to get into it? In fact, they ran into their frocks quicker than anything.
God knows I want to break free.
Are you a Queen fan?
Her Majesty.
Do you know her?
Oh, I met her twice. She gave me a little badge, you know. Says I don't have to pay taxes.
No, the rock group.
Oh, the rock band Queen.
Do you know them?
Yes, I know them, but never liked them.
Me either.
Pity.
Hold this, dear. Looks like somebody's coming our way. Aha! For this.
I like them a lot.
She likes them a lot. And for this. What a great gang of guys!
You don't become one of rock and roll's greatest live bands overnight, and it wasn't until their first Japanese tour that Queen first encountered Queen Mania.
It was quite early on in our career. We hadn't really had much success in England and nothing at all anywhere else in Europe or America. So this was a new experience for us, and we all sat on a Japanese Airlines jumbo jet. We just didn't know what to expect when we got to the airport. And it was quite astounding, really. I mean, there was just hundreds and hundreds of fans really waiting for us.
Hello, boys and girls. This is Brian from Queen here.
I'd like to say thank you very much
For being so great. And from me and the boys, thanks for the presents. Sayonara.
It wasn't until the following year that Queen received similar recognition at home. In 1976, Queen played a free concert in London's Hyde Park.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our picnic by the Serpentine. Cheers, everybody, and keep yourself alive. All right. I was so limited time to all the struggles in my way. Now I have to keep on trying and get better every day. But if I cross a million rivers, rode a million miles, still be where I started, bread and butter for a smile.
We managed to get permission to use the Hyde Park for free concerts, and in fact the most memorable before Queen was the Rolling Stones, many years ago. Queen performed in front of a massive free crowd, and I suppose it was the turning point of their career. I mean, in the same way that, in the same way for the Stones about 12 years before.
Though Queen had previously supported Mott the Hoople in America and headlined in 1976, it wasn't until their 1977 headlining tour that North America was finally conquered.
I've lost my shoe.
Cinderella.
Darling, get off my trousers, else I'll see my legs. He's just going to get my shoe. Why don't you do a nice picture of Roger's legs?
Freddie Mercury is one of life's originals. Drawing from a completely unique collection of sources, he's assembled a lifestyle that resembles few others. So far, there are no signs of Freddie Mercury succumbing to conservatism.
It was during this tour that they first began to play their future anthems, We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions.
We will rock you. Go on, sing it, everybody. We will rock you. Everybody. We will rock you.
I mean, early American tours were quite crude in a way. It was the old, everybody assumes that you always toured like, it's all limousines and things. But our first American tour, we had a station wagon, and we all got into it, and commercial flights here and there, and sharing rooms in Holiday Inns.
Otherwise, there were tours I hated because, we used to do American tours that lasted for 3 or 4 months, and towards the end, it was just terrible. I just never wanted to go on the stage again.
Bonsoir, Paris. Ça va bien? Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it. Let me welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say hello. Are you ready for something to feel? Are you ready for a show? Gonna rock, gonna roll, and to dance within the aisles. It tells you rest on my dancing with a little bit of style. Let me dance with you. Let me entertain you.
Freddie is, and I mean this in all sincerity, I think Freddie is the 80s Edith Piaf. I think he's got that power.
I don't really analyze myself to that degree. The way I look at myself, if I ever do, is that I'm a man of extremes. My character on stage is totally different to what I am off stage. And I just think I have a very soft side and a very hard side. You either get me where I'm very strong or I'm very soft. So if the right person gets me, they'll find me that I'm very vulnerable and I can be a real baby. But then sometimes people meet me, and they're very hard. When I'm hard, I'm very strong. Nobody can get through to me.
In 1981 marked the beginning of Queen's love affair with the South American continent.
Freddie Mercury, vocal e piano. Hi, Fred.
Sit on my lap.
Fred, vamos ver como é que ele se sente cantando e tocando para uma assistência de 200 mil espectadores. Fred, how do you feel playing and singing before 200,000 people?
Haven't done it yet.
Each morning I get up, I'm tired, can't barely stand on my feet. Take a look in the mirror and cry, Lord, what you do to me.
It's a little hairy when your head of security in Sao Paulo introduces himself by saying that he's killed 206 people.
Somebody, anybody find me, somebody love.
And we were very worried about getting the gear out because we had an enormous amount of gear, and we'd already been offered Earth, Wind and Fire's gear, which had been seized from a year before, so we were well aware that goodness knows what might happen to our own equipment. And so Jerry and I decided that what we would do is bring a 747 cargo in, and by 8 o'clock the following morning it had all gone. And when we met the next morning to finally negotiate some sort of settlement and payment, they suddenly realized that their major leverage, which was the equipment, had left whilst they were busy stealing the grass.
Otro muerde el polvo, uno de los últimos grandes temas de Queen, en vivo.
Down the street, rip away out. Ain't no sound but the sound of his feet. Machine guns ready to go. Are you ready? Hey, are you ready for this? I'm standing on the edge of the seat. Out the way, the bullets ready. Inside of me. Hey, see, another one bites the dust. All right, another one bites the dust. And another one bites the dust.
Sometimes you're surprised. You know, we went to Argentina and we thought, well, here we're going to be a curiosity. I mean, maybe they have some records, but they don't really know who we are. But we found that they were able to sing along with us as well. I mean, every word.
So like some way if we do Love of My Life, they know that they have to sing it. And it's amazing to watch that I didn't even have to tell them. They just automatically know their role.
Love of my life.
In Montreux, Queen recorded their first and only collaboration with a fellow rock and roller, rejuvenating the pop duet tradition.
Don't forget Bing Crosby. All right, forget Bing Crosby. Okay. And these things happen, you know, suddenly you're writing something together, and it was totally spontaneous, and it certainly wasn't planned. It was peculiar.
This world is about watching some good friends scream. Let me out. Break tomorrow. Is that higher? The
私がクイーンと長く、そう10年以上も仕事を一緒にやってこれたのは、この浮き沈みの激しい世界の中にあって、とっても幸せだったと思います。
でよ、そこにあって、この前
But playing all over the world means enduring global media encounters, no matter how weird.
Why did you name your group as Queen?
Always a difficult question, because so long ago I can't remember. But it was short.
But at least you learn things, like the fact that the Korean word for yes is meh.
Upcoming is the British Eurovision Violence Contest. And here, ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you Freddie, good start, Mercury, ladies and gentlemen. Do your stuff, Fred.
I sit alone and watch your light, my only friend through teenage nights. And everything I had to know, I heard it on my radio.
When I was on my tour of Australia, we happened to cross paths with Queen, and I just went backstage. In fact, he was livid because backstage before the show, he had his hairdresser doing his hair and someone handing his makeup and down in the vodka. I kind of got a soft spot for Queen somehow. I think Freddie's a one-off, you know. You don't get too many people like him.
I traced them all the way down to I can't remember where it was some tiny little beach or some little small seaside resort they were staying at, or Jim was staying at. And I said, oh, for Christ's sake, you know, I mean, you know, what's wrong with him? And he said, well, you know, I mean, he's very sensitive. And then when they did do Live Aid, they were absolutely, I think, the best band of the day. You know, whatever your personal taste is irrelevant. When the day came, they played the best, they had the best sound, they used their 17 minutes or whatever to the best. I mean, they understood the idea exactly that it was a global jukebox, as I described it.
My only friend through teenage life, everything I had to know, I heard it on my radio.
I mean, I was actually upstairs in the appeals box on Wembley Stadium, and a guy on the phone had just given me £1 million, this guy from Kuwait, and he just said, Mr. Geloff, the people of Kuwait want to give you £1 million. I said, thanks very much. And I put down the phone, and I went outside, and I heard this sound. You know, I thought, God, who's got the sound together? And it was Queen, and like I just looked down over this crowd of people, just going crazy.
The girls and boys who just don't know or just don't care and just don't play when you're not there. Every time you have the power, then to have the finest sound. Radio. Everybody, all we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Guru, Radio Gaga. All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Gaga. Radio was you. Radio, someone still love you.
Seldom been so nervous, in fact, probably never. But I think it was the greatest day of our lives, even though we played only a very small part in it. I think it's the thing I'll remember above all out of what we've done in our career. It's amazing, amazing day.
We walked out there, just the four of us, no sound check, no lights, and the response we got was very, you know, it was, we didn't, you know, it hit us a bit that day. As like weeks afterwards, we realised, you know, how successful it was.
We knew why we were there. You know, the reason was to feed those kids who were otherwise going to die. And seeing as we were there, we were going to do the best job we could.
I didn't realise that we'd gone down
quite as well as he'd gone down until Elton came up and said, "You stole the show," or something like that. I thought he was being nice, you know.
All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Goo Goo, Radio Gaga. All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio blah blah. Radio was Radio. Someone still love you.
What Live Aid did for us was give us confidence back, because we were sort of feeling a bit, I don't know if trapped is the right word, but we felt we were on this sleigh ride and what was going to come next. And we'd actually said, OK, we don't want to do anything for a while. And when we did Live Aid without our usual show, without the lights and the usual sound and everything, and still found that we were able to play and get our music across, I think it gave us a bit more confidence in what we were.
The confidence instilled in the band by their Live Aid appearance galvanised them into embarking upon their biggest tour ever. Life on the road with Queen means 6 months of planning, an 80-page instruction booklet, 13 trucks carrying 100 tons of technical hardware, 19 limousines, and a road crew of 40 people.
In the 60s, it was more, well, we're going to go on tour, and we'll jump in the car and go on tour. You know, it was... But now everybody's got computers and this and that, and it's become very, very businesslike. It's like feeding the monster, you know.
Who are the people who packed out Wembley Stadium 2 nights running?
I think I'm mentally addicted to the sound of Freddie's voice. If I go for more than about 8 hours at a stretch without listening to him, I start to go crazy.
Oh, you're gonna take me home tonight. Oh, down beside that red firelight. Oh, you're gonna let it all hang out. Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round. Get this.
And you get all these women trying to make dates with you, you know, it's terrible that, and which we mustn't allow in our job, you know. We mustn't have the women coming up saying, would you like to come to my house, so they can get a backstage pass. We don't allow anything like that, you know.
Backstage at a Queen show means big shots, famous friends, and of course family.
Not mine, but very beautiful.
We did it.
Hold to the ball. She's got parts on me. Was Springsteen?
Yeah, because he had a big thing, he never got it.
Well, then he did a whole stadium tour.
Yeah. But that was the first time it was a rock.
To each other, we're stars, but not as much as it is to people in the street. So we don't treat each other too much as stars. We may ask each other for autographs for the kids. That happens these days.
How long have we got? 5 minutes? 5, 10 minutes? If I didn't do this, I don't have anything to do, you know. I can't cook. I'm not very good at being a housewife.
Ready to go and do this? Yeah, hang on.
ladies are still rocking away.
A queen, that's something really.
I think, Freddie as a frontman, I've observed them, and, every vocalist, picks up things of every other frontman. Yes, I have stolen little things, I admit it.
One flesh, one bone, one true religion, one voice, one hope, one real decision. Whoa, 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 give me one vision.
The proof is in the pudding, isn't it? I mean, how long has Kiss, listen to me, has Queen been around? For Kiss, Queens, it's all the same thing.
They've always been a very clever band. They've always been very talented, and they've always approached music very intelligently. Probably because they've all got so many degrees and they're all so well educated and everything.
I like Freddie's.
I like his music, but he doesn't turn me on.
To me, they fall into the same category as the Stones. They are totally recognizable, 100%. As soon as you hear a Queen record, you know it's a Queen record.
I really can't compare, a group of musicians on that level, because it's a matter of the media, really, and how you're perceived, I mean, I'm not really Keith Richards.
Freddie would be very pleased about being called the next Mick Jagger. I don't think he'd really like that.
There was a party afterwards, by the way.
Like this post-Wembley rave up at the Roof Gardens, Queen parties are extravagant events with extravagant guests.
Freddie Mercury does things with a mic. If it is a woman who did things with a mic like that, they'd ban her. They'd say this is sexist.
I'm just a musical prostitute, my dear.
And you think, God, he's sexy.
Can live with it, gonna die without it. Ain't no doubt about it. But just to kick out the dancing
I like that Freddie, but he was not a queen, though, but I like him.
I don't want to talk about it. Want to forget about it. Want to be intoxicated with that special brew. So come and get me. Let me get in that sinking feeling that says my heart is on an all-time low. So don't expect me.
The longer the day goes, the more I feel exhaustion. But Queen keeps my spirit young, so I can suffer with my body quite well.
Melancholy blues.
If I had to do this every day, forget it.
There's obviously a big difference between the countries, but actually when you get on the stage and the audience, there's not a great difference. You know, if music crosses all the barriers, you know, no politics, no religion, you know, all the barriers go down. It's fantastic.
It seems like a long time since we began, yeah. It seems unimaginable what's happened.
I don't know why we're together. I don't know why. And if you ask any of the other members, I don't know why we're together.
We think that in spite of all problems that we may have, that Queen is still something just kind of precious, because you can't make a group which works. It happens, and if you're very lucky, it probably doesn't happen more than once in your life.
We've basically achieved what we wanted to do, I think, and we want to keep on doing it for a little while, you know, and not just give up.
In a strange way, now we have achieved that in a lot of countries in the world. It does take away some of the incentive.
Yeah, and you know, we don't want to become old, rich, and useless, you know.
They've not been there as long as the Stones and the Who and bands like that. So those legends were sort of built in the 60s. They came in the second echelon, and maybe their legendary status hasn't been reached yet. But I'm sure when the great rock and roll book is written at the turn of the century, they will be up there with the legends.
If I had to do it all over again, yes, why not? Why not? I do it slightly differently.
King Mercury. Long may she reign.
Nobody. Not even the Queen Not even President Reagan. Nobody.
Not even you two.
And not even the Prime Minister of Yugoslavia.